Hey everyone! Thank you for joining us for our Week 5 video status update. I am Andrew Bertino, and I'm a producer on Nexus. To get everyone caught up to speed, Nexus is a third-person action-adventure game set in a mysterious underground city beneath an ancient temple. In the game, the player obtains an alien power that allows them to manipulate mass, gravity, and light in an effort to solve puzzles, traverse the environment, and fight enemies. With Vertical Slice coming up next week, most of our attention has been focused on that. As such, this week's video will be a bit shorter than usual. For this week, we focused mostly on getting in a lot of our gameplay. While we've already implemented many of our powers, we have not yet demonstrated unique ways to use them. So our goal for this week was to create a variety of scenarios that would showcase the powers. Now we're going to load up the game and show you some of these scenarios. Alright, as you can see, we've started you off here in the Nexus area. This again is the area where the player will obtain the Nexus power. One of the first things you can see that we added this week were these floating platforms. This is to kind of give you a basic jumping platform as you work your way up to reach the Nexus. A couple jumps here, and I fail that jump usually, so I'll go ahead and just ghost you up there. But once you land on this platform, the Nexus will come down, you will obtain the Nexus, and things will start going crazy. Machine malfunctions, the platform falls, and red lights start flashing, sparks go off, and it's indicating to the player that, hey, I've done something wrong, the machine is malfunctioning, and now I have to do something to turn it off. So again, once you land here, you can, start testing out some of your basic powers. I just used the physics gun there, for example, to push away that column. Again, as you can see, there's now sparks flying around, there's red lights. And off in the distance, you can see these two columns kind of leading off into this side cavern. I'll go ahead and zoom through here to speed things up yet again. And as you enter this little side cavern, you can see that the gravity is kind of funny. There's a lot of boulders flying around, some statues, things of that nature. And as you walk down this little walkway, you'll see why in a second. Eventually, you'll come across this gravity nullifying machine. And what this is doing is it's kind of spinning around a lot of these boulders, and it's making it to the point where you can't cross this cavern. And you need to get across because the other part of the machine is over there, and you need to disable it to disable the giant machine. So there's two ways you can handle this. You can use the physics gun and to pick up this boulder, and you can use it as a shield. We haven't quite gotten the shield functionality in yet, but that is one of the plans for this area, is to be able to use that boulder as a shield. So for now, what I'll do is the more standard approach is just, throw a couple of light grenades at it, take out the main piece there, and then warp the entire machine. It'll blow up in spectacular fashion, and then the rocks, as you can see, will kind of start to return to normal gravity and clear the path so you can continue. Go ahead and ghost here one more time. Now as you get to this part here, you'll see this kind of closed cavern, the walkway's ending, and it leads to one of those, other tubes malfunctioning. You can see the sparks. And as you get to this part, you'll see one of these plugs. And your job is to make sure you disconnect the plug to restore order to the pipe here and stop it from malfunctioning. There's two ways you can do this. You can use the mass transfer and give it a lot of mass. As you give it mass, it'll add weight, and eventually the plug would fall off and disconnect, restoring order to the machine. Or again, you can do with what we did like the gravity nullifier, and just throw a couple of grenades at it, and eventually it'll explode. And as you can see, once you destroy the plug, the lights go back to normal, the machine starts sparkling, and you've restored at least that piece of the machine. So from here, you would drop down, and you would continue on your way trying to disable the other two plugs and restore order to the machine. That's pretty much all the gameplay we have for this week. Now that we've demonstrated our gameplay, we're going to go over some of the programming tasks and artwork completed for this week. The main focus this week programming-wise was to get in this unique puzzle event system. The main goal of this system was to make it accessible so that the producers could go in and be the ones to set the puzzles. They could add in the objects, set the conditionals, and create the basic puzzles for the games in a quick manner without the need of a programmer. As you saw from the gameplay demonstration, our programmers did a great job. Some of the other things they worked on this week was their continued work on the Boar AI. For this week, they were able to get it so that the boar would respond to light globs. So you would throw one and the boar would be attracted to it and go towards it. The last thing they worked on this week was level streaming. we were able to take the first map and the Nexus area, which you saw in the gameplay demonstration, and we're able to combine them so that when you complete the first level, you will go straight into the Nexus area. Now I'll go on to some of the artwork. Here is the second pass of our high poly sculpt for our main character, Chris Reynolds. This is a close-up of that same high poly sculpt. Here is our first pass of the low poly version of Chris. This is the same boar that you saw last week. And here is the updated version of the boar with new textures. Finally, here's a render of one of the more unique assets in our environment. This is the gravity nullifier machine that you saw during our gameplay demonstration. And that is all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you can join us next week for our vertical slice status update.